Good morning, job seekers. Hope you're all keeping well today. It's myself and Adrian that's hosting a webinar with some 3 topics that we're going to cover. Firstly is resume and content writing. Next one is cover letter writing. And finally, we're going to do identifying market opportunities. And we're going to do a fun interactive Q&A or FAQ session at the end. So my name is Desh Govender. I'm a talent acquisition specialist at Pro Talent. And I will introduce my colleague, Adrian Pillay, who is a specialist recruiter at Pro Talent as well. And over to Adrian to say hi.
Thanks, Desh. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining on this webinar. Like Desh said, we're going to be speaking about 3 very important topics when it comes to job search and job hunting, and we hope it helps you a lot. I've been in the recruitment industry and HR for about 12 years, so there's some experience that comes with what we're saying, and Desh has got a number of years experience as well. So we hope that our content and what we deliver will help you in your job search. I'll begin by talking about CV content or resume content and writing. The idea about CVs is to keep it simple. Keeping it simple means keeping it uncomplicated. The aim is to create an essay to have your CV read, all of them, just to keep your necessary relevant information on your CV, keeping it succinct enough and making sure that it delivers the message that you want to deliver. Equally important is to ensure that it's also aesthetically pleasing, to keep the reader engaged, so you can get that reader to say, I need to talk to this candidate. You want that reaction. So just again on content, keywords is important. So making sure that your CV has keywords associated or relevant to the job you're applying for. On your job description that you're looking at or your job advert that you're looking at, ask yourself some key questions. Does my CV reflect what the role is looking for? Am I qualified, or do I have the right qualifications? Do I have the right skills and the skill set that that job is asking for? And also, am I suitably experienced for the role? By checking yourself and your CV before hitting the apply or clicking apply, you'll find that your job hunting will become more specific and definitely more focused. When it comes to what detail you to have in your CV, how much is too much? Some people think 1 page is enough. Some people think 5 pages is enough. But I would say include the most relevant information suited to your industry on your CV. Remember to include numbers, stats, quantitative information to highlight key information and achievements that will not just impress the reader, but also showcase your unique selling points. You want to highlight exactly what you've achieved in your previous experience. Aim to keep the CV to about 2 pages, but it doesn't work against you if you have 1 or 2 pages more, at least not in my opinion. Just as long as you're keeping the information relevant to the role, relevant to the sector and the industry you're in. When it comes to font, your CV creation, when it comes to font, use a professional font, but I use the word professional lightly because it can be debated. If you're in the creative space, for example, graphic design, you want to show how creative you are. So it might not work to your favor if you use a standard black and white document using Arial, for example. I would recommend using Arial or Times New Roman for CVs that are going to maybe a formal or a corporate job offer or a job advert. On your CV, use active language. By that I mean some active words could include improved, designed, established, generated, increased, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. I'm just joining a few people. Cool, we've got some more people joining us now. Where was I? So using active language on your CV. Welcome to those who've just joining us. We've just started on CV content and writing, but we will send out the link if you've missed out a few things. So I was talking about active language and active words. Aim to use words like achieving statements, or use statements that are achieving rather than doing statements. For example, a doing statement might sound like responsible for inventory control and ordering products. That can be changed to optimized inventory by monitoring product shortage. Sounds very professional, but you can make these small changes to that one-line statement on your duties and responsibilities that'll look professional and sound professional. Another doing statement might sound like sold products to bring revenue. That can be changed to I increased profit margins by creating effective sales plans and implementing strategies to solidify client retention. Very professional, very corporate sounding, but it sounds assertive and it sounds very confident. So just by applying some creative writing skills to your CV, you can make your CV look and sound professional. Remember, if writing is not your strongest skill set, don't be afraid to ask somebody for help, or somebody that you know would be good in that skill set. Ask for advice, seek feedback, but remember that your CV needs to be an honest view of your capabilities, strengths, and qualities, not somebody else's. I'm just inviting a few more people now, and I can see that things are getting busy. Over to you, Desh.
Great. Let's just wait for a few more people to connect.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So welcome to those of you that have just joined us. So basically, Adrin covered a bit of content on what you would write on your CV. I'm just going to cover a few important information that needs to go into your CV. Firstly, include a professional picture. Okay. It's always good to put a picture on your CV, not because to market yourself, also to market yourself better, but also it just creates a more professional view of your CV. So just a note to our ladies, if you are using a professional picture, just watch your dress code. Keep your clothing smart, professional. Use a coat or a jacket, not excessive makeup or excessive jewelry. Try using neutral colors like blacks, blues, that sort of thing. Like Adrian said below as well, if you are a more creative candidate, if you're a graphic designer or you're in marketing or you're in sales, stuff like that, you can go with a creative picture. But if you applying for a job as a professional accountant, I say, if you go in there wearing like a fancy hat or a scarf and sunglasses, the client's going to think that you are totally outrageous, which you could very well be in your personality. But I always say, when you're applying for a job and you're going for an interview, dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. And this is especially applicable if you're applying for a more senior role than what you're in. Say you're a debtors clerk and you want to apply for a credit controller role. That role involves supervisory experience. So you need to look the part of a supervisor, carry the part of a supervisor, because remember, you will have people under you ultimately, and you want to portray the right leadership skills, okay? So that's just a bit on dress code. For guys, I would say what Adrian's wearing is a colored shirt for a golfer. That's very neat. T-shirt is very casual. So that's just a tip for guys. And then personal information. Include all your personal information, your ethnicity group, your contact information, a valid email address, contact numbers. If you have more than one contact number, you can list it as well, and the area that you're living in. Very important as well, qualifications. Do not leave out your grade 12 on your CV. A lot of job seekers that we've come across CVs leave out their grade 12, especially the older candidates. Always remember that it doesn't matter how young and how old you are, your grade 12 information is very important. Your tertiary qualifications, equally as important. Diplomas, degrees. Basically, your diploma or your degree is classified as something that is a 2 to 3 year qualification. So if you've done a 1-year certificate and it states certificate on your qualification, state what it states on the copy of your qualification, not a diploma. Diplomas, degrees, the name of the institution you got it from, the date that it was awarded must be the same date as your CV, because often we've noticed that, okay, you complete your exams in, say, November 2019, and that's when you've passed your exam, you get your results, and you say that's when you get your qualification. But when we are doing checks and when we verifying qualifications, it comes up on your certificate was awarded because graduation process is a year later or 6 months later. So make sure your certificate date is the same as your qualification date of completion when you are putting that information on your CV. The reason why we say this is because when we send it to the clients, and if there's a different date and a different date comes back from the check and we send that report to the client, it automatically creates doubt between the clients, and they say, okay, so what happened here? So then we have to go and explain. So if we basically relay the correct information upfront, there'll be no questions regarding your CV. Okay. Courses are very important as well. Even if you did a one-day course, a data's course, or a customer service course, a IT course, an Excel course, anything that you've done as courses, that's not, you don't have to list the institution or the year. You can basically list the courses that you've completed. If you have that information, you can add it, and that makes it more valuable. Okay, next is your employment history. Very important with employment history is the name of your company, your dates that you worked, and go from month to year and month to year. A lot of candidates we come across where they've just put the year, so 2020, 2019, 2018. The employers ask us, what month did they start, what month did they leave? So very important is year and month to year and month. Your job title, very important as well. Your job title, sometimes employers also check back to your payslip if you are submitting. So what your payslip states, sometimes companies put incorrect information on your payslip or your job title. So just be wary of that fact as well. And then your duties. List as much information with your duties as possible. So say you're an IT job seeker, list the programs that you worked on, which is your various database programs or your IT programs, your IT software. If you're an accounting profession, or if you're a debtors clerk, list your book value, for example. List your book value of debtors, your book value of creditors. Those are important information. If you're an HR manager, list your stats of HR information like your IR, your EE, what you covered in your job. The more duties that you add, the easier it is for us to market you. So stats in your duties is also very important. Also, a list of achievements. Even if you think it's something small, to the employer, it might not be something small, it might be something big. So think about it when if you are updating your employment history as per a job that you're finishing. Think about something that you did, something that you added value, a cost saving initiative, a team building initiative, helping out, being part of a team that did voluntary work. Those are all achievements and things that can market your CV to a client better. Okay. References, also very important on your CV. Fill in references of your direct report. So remember, we do thorough reference checkings on all candidates that we submit to clients. So very important is your direct report. A landline is very important on your CV, and you can provide a mobile number because we have to double check. So we phone to verify employment of yourself, employment of the person you're giving us as a reference, their designation, and their contact information is important so that we can get references done. So just remember, all this information on your CV will actually speed up our process, because once we interview you, when we're loading your CV on our database, it goes to our admin department for typing, referencing. So if all this information is on there, the quicker we get it done, the quicker it gets to our client, the quicker we can push for an interview. We can get you an interview. You can go work your magic in front of the client, and then you start your new job. And also ensure that your CV is sent to us in Word format, okay? Very important. We know that some candidates are concerned about information being, that your CV can be edited in one format, but if you're dealing with a reputable recruitment agency, that shouldn't be a concern. PDF format is a bit difficult for us to read. Also, when you are applying for jobs, don't attach your CV as a link from Google, because then it requests for permission and things like that, and then that slows down our process, because sometimes we're going through our emails and we're like, oh, I need to re-email this candidate, and then we forget to do so, and then we lose you. So always attach it as a normal attachment, not via cloud link or Google link or any other links. Send it as a normal attachment. And that's what I can tell you about your CV. Over to Adrian. He's going to now cover cover letting and writing.
Cool. Thanks, Desh. A lot of technical information. I hope it's helpful to everybody listening there. So I'll be talking about cover letter writing now. A cover letter is meant to be a summary of your resume and is meant to be a direct letter written to the hiring manager or the recruiter as a statement to say why you should be considered for the job. The common question is, how long should a cover letter be? Not more than half a page in our view. Anything else is going to be too long-winded, and this is meant to complement your CV, if anything. And so if it's going to be longer than half a page, it's going to take too much time to read, and recruiters or hiring managers will still need time to look at your CV as well. So you want to make it succinct, short, punchy, and easy to read. Another all-important question is, what must I include in my cover letter? Firstly, determine who you are addressing your cover letter to. Ideally, you should know who's going to be reading your cover letter. Try not to address your letter to whom it may concern. If you found the job through an advert, it will probably have a name to send your CV to. And if it doesn't, then find out who that recruiter is or who that employer is, and try to get the hiring manager for the job, so you can clearly say, dear so and so. Be creative in sourcing out that hiring manager. Try to find out who the HR manager or that recruiter is. You can call them and ask them for that name if you're having trouble with that. So secondly, introduce yourself. Who are you? Make sure you add your full name, your contact details, and your unique selling points. For example, mine would say Adrian Pillay, IT specialist recruiter with a diploma in HR management and 12 years of recruitment experience within the IT industry. Also highlight a short list of your key skills and a summary of your capabilities. In your cover letter, remember to speak their language. So state clearly the job you're applying for, and or the job that you're looking for. If you are addressing a sales manager, for example, highlight your skill set in sales by adding numbers, as Desh mentioned, stats, quantifiable sort of evidence, and sales achievements. Highlight the skills for that role, and your skills for that role, and the experience that you come with, and experience that you have for that job. Lastly, show gratitude. I mean, a lot of time, recruiters like myself, like Desh, hiring managers, when we're scanning through CVs, we need to do this really quickly, and we get a lot of applications, as you can imagine. So show gratitude to the person reading that CV or the cover letter, and include a call to action. Now, what I mean by that is, end your letter with a call to action that says, you're asking for an interview, or you're asking for or even a Zoom interview or a telephone call in the least. Include the easiest way to contact you. So that could be your WhatsApp number, or your telephone number, your cell phone number, or email if you prefer. But always include a call to action at the end, and just be assertive and confident, but not arrogant, and certainly grateful. But so that's my take on cover letter writing. Over to you, Desh.
Okay, good. Thanks, Adrian. So just a few stuff on what to avoid when you're doing your cover letter, okay? Avoid rewriting your entire CV. Remember, the purpose of your cover letter is to summarize your CV and focus on the job that you are applying for. Typos or mistakes, make sure you use spell check, Microsoft Word, ask a family member or someone to read it just to basically give you their opinion and feedback on it. So if they think, okay, I think you should have added this or added that. Also somebody who knows you, who knows your skills. Because often when you're writing, you forget that, oh, right, I can do this, and oh, I can do that. So somebody who knows you can say, what about this? And what about that? Then you could add that on. Avoid using I too much. Although this is your cover letter, it's not all about you. Use it in a way that you could add value to the role and the company itself. But just before we go on, maybe Adrian, you can share your opinion. Do you think the cover letter should be as a separate attachment or should it be on the CV? Because often we get attachments with both.
I don't mind having it on one document. Sometimes it's less documents to look at. If I get a cover letter separate to a CV, and again, we look at a number of applications per vacancy, I'll go straight to the CV in most cases. But if you're sending an email, you can also include that content of your cover letter in the email body itself. So when I look at the email, I know exactly what I'm looking at, and it'll cause me to look at the CV. So I mean, it's really determinant on how big the documents are, or just how quick you want somebody to read your CV. I would say maybe if you are sending an email, put it in the body of the email.
That's a good point. I agree. So I would also say that either in the body of the email or on the CV itself, because also remember, recruiters sometimes go through 150 applications for a job when we put a job advert out. So also remember, we don't have time to basically open two documents. We want to go through the process as quickly as possible because remember, we have our clients down our backs and we've got deadlines. We've also got competition with other agencies where we are all working the same spec. So there's lots of factors that go into our sourcing process where we have to be quick all the time. So just as little documents as possible. So yeah, if you could maybe stick to that, that will be good. And now over to Adrian, who's going to do identifying market opportunities.
Yeah, so identifying market opportunities is basically, thinking about where you are now and what jobs you want to apply for. So if you are a school leaver, or a recent graduate, or anything like that, or maybe even a career changer, maybe these points might help you identify the market opportunities, the things that you want to apply for or consider applying for. So firstly, consider your skills and experience. What does your personal toolkit look like? So what do you have as your skill set and your strengths? What do you have in your hands that can be turned into a job or even a business? Secondly, can you turn your hobby into a job? So what are your hobbies? Well, do you enjoy baking? Are you good at CV writing or writing eloquently? Maybe that can be turned into, you could turn yourself into a columnist or a blog writer, for example. Do you enjoy graphic design or fixing your friends or family PCs? So are you good with IT or do you have technical skills naturally? These things can help you determine, where your strengths are and help you determine what jobs to apply for. Also, consult your inner circle. So consult your friends and your family. Ask them for their input and advice. Ask them, where do you see me working? What strengths do I have that you can see me doing? Am I good at sales? Am I confident? Am I more suited to an admin role, or would I suit a technical role like IT or engineering? Consider approaching someone that has the role that you admire or you want to be in, and ask them how they got to that position as well. Also, have you thought about progression in your current job? So if you are in a certain position and you're thinking, well, you know what, I don't feel like I'm going anywhere, or this job doesn't fulfill my personal needs at the moment. If you are currently working maybe in a similar type of role, have you considered what other opportunities in the business that exist? So, could you consider speaking to your manager about, I have an interest, I've been doing this as a hobby, but maybe we can bring this into the business. So see what opportunities, try to create opportunities within your business as well, and help yourself and your employer and your company move forward and progress. The other way of identifying market opportunities is maybe even going back to school. So, is there a course that you could sign up for? Is there maybe some other new skill that you can go out and learn? There's plenty of online academies at the moment. So Shore Academy is a good one. Udemy is another. Coursera is another. There's quite a few courses that you can do. I know Google and IBM also provide online courses that you can tap into and build your CV and showcase maybe a new skill or strength, and that might help you identify what your next opportunity, your next job opportunity will be. Choose a course or a certification that you are passionate about, though, something that you know that you're flourishing. Usually it's the jobs that you enjoy that earn you the most money and rewards. Cool. Desh?
Okay, guys, so that's basically the 3 topics that we covered. We're now going to open the floor to you. So if anybody's got any questions, if there's anything that you ever wanted to ask a recruiter, but you were maybe too shy to do it in person, we now video. So let's open up the floor to see what everybody wanting to ask. And maybe let's start off with one word as to how everyone's feeling. If you can maybe just type a word as to how you guys are feeling right now, and we can start from there.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of job portals, you apply for jobs online. So obviously, do you suggest like a standard cover letter, or do you suggest that you put in like a specified cover letter? A generic?
I would suggest you use a standard cover letter, but also when you are applying for a certain job, I might be wrong, but you can correct me. So if you applying for like let's say a job of a marketing manager, and then when you're sending your application gives you a place to write a little bit about your application, you could maybe personalize that a bit more. If that is still coming up now when you are applying, or does it just basically send your application as soon as you tick apply?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marcel. Marcel says it's very informative. How many pages max should a CV have? Desh?
I know Adrian did say in the beginning, keep it to 2 pages, but I tend to disagree with you, Adrian. Maybe because, you in IT, I'm in finance and technical. So I would say, depending on your employment history, depending on your age, depending on the number of companies you've worked at, if it's 5 pages and if it's, it's got a lot of information, I will take the time to scroll through all 5 pages. If it's 10 pages, I'll do the same. So it's various, it varies. So I would say as much information as possible to cover your duties, your content, etc. Don't listen to companies or agencies or adverts that say, send me a 1-page CV. Remember, your CV is the selling point. It is your foot in the door, your very first foot in the door. So think if you were hiring, would you look at somebody that's got a 1-page CV where you don't know if they've done half the things that you're looking for in your person, where you've got somebody with a 5-page CV and they've got everything you could think of from A to Z? You're obviously going to go with your candidate with your 5-page CV. So I don't think we should put a number of pages on your CV. As much information as you want to put on your CV, trust me, if it's a recruiter that's looking at your CV, they'll take the time to read it if it meets all the requirements.
Hope that was helpful, Marcel. Any other questions? Anyone else? Feel free to type them out or unmute and then just speak to us. Do we offer CV writing services? Marcel wants to.
Okay. No, we don't offer CV writing services. We've seen a lot of adverts on various places where people offer CV writing services. I've never actually used any of those, or we've never found out. I know that they are quite pricey, and especially for job seekers that don't have funds right now. And if you are unemployed, we understand how difficult it is. So to go and spend 350 Rand on a CV writing where you can spend 350 Rand on transport to go for an interview, I would say no, not necessarily. If you're using a nice version of Office, there's lots of templates on Office, MS Word, where you could download. They've got the professional ones, they've got the creative ones. Use those CV templates and do your CV up. And just remember your content, your layout, everything's neat, like Adrian covered in the beginning. Good font, it's readable, professional picture, and yeah, you don't need to go and pay 350 or 500 Rand to get a professional CV done. I think everybody's quite creative, and you can certainly do it yourself.
No, 100%. I think I agree with you, Desh. It doesn't have to take hundreds of rands to write a CV. The CV belongs to you, in my opinion. It's you on paper. It's how you represent yourself on paper. And when you're going for the interview, the other person at the other end of the table has a copy of your CV. Now, if you didn't put, the how can I say, the heart into it, and
Yes,
you had somebody else write it for you, it'll come across in that interview. You might not sound as confident because you didn't maybe know the layout, or you didn't know the words. There's something about, from my perspective anyway, there's something about writing your own document and writing your own CV. The words get imprinted in your mind. When you're in the interview, you don't even have to look at your own copy of your CV. The words just flow in a conversation. I think it shows a lot of confidence when you can display that knowledge about yourself easily. CV writing, just the format, the layout, font, appearance, aesthetics, those things come with time as well. So the more your CV's got to evolve. If you're starting out, let's say you just finished school or just graduate from university or college, make the first attempt, and then ask for feedback. Ask people in your family, ask a tutor, ask a friend, ask even a manager, or somebody you trust, and somebody you trust for honest feedback. And then go back and rewrite it or modify or amend where it needs to be. There's, like Desh said, there's hundreds of templates on Microsoft Word, and you can always look at that. You don't need to use the template. What I would suggest is look at the template and take what you feel applies to you and speaks to you, and what best represents you and your personality. That definitely stands out when you go in for the interview. It's these sort of tell signs that we can pick up very quickly, and just by speaking to a candidate, whether they put their 100% into writing the CV, their own CV. CV writing, the professionals, they're good. I'm not putting them down in any way, but I think when they apply a lot to very senior professionals. I've seen CTOs, for example, that have used CV writing because they've long forgotten or long applied themselves in applying for a job or putting their CV together, and they need that sort of support to see what's relevant and what's now changed. So I think it'll apply to a lot of senior people, but for your own self and for your own sort of knowledge and just to learn from CV writing, try those templates, ask people, ask for feedback, keep amending. It's always evolving, so it should never ever stay static anyway. Amashle asks, Desh, thanks Amashle, thanks for joining us. Do you recommend adding a small summary of what industry your previous and current workplaces? So do you recommend adding a small summary of what industry?
I would definitely, because often, we don't know every company in Durban, and we don't know what each company does. So even if you do like 2 lines about your company and what they do, what the industry they're in, and the number of workforce that they have, that is definitely something that is good. Yeah, so that's a good point. That's something that you brought up that we all could use. So definitely, good on you.
Yeah. No, I agree, definitely. It shows again, not everyone knows the company. Not everyone knows what industry your previous company was in. So, just highlighting that fact would be very helpful. Rishika, sure. Rishika wants to know if you can send us
No problem. I'll put my email address on here so you could send your CV to me.
Cool. Thanks, Desh. Marcel wants to know how many references are compulsory and what happens if the person you previously reported to is no longer in the company. Good question.
Okay. So basically, I would say the last 3 places of employment is good for your references. If the person you previously reported to is no longer there, then provide an alternate person, or if you have their mobile number, you could say no longer at my current company, but is now the manager at so-and-so company. And if you give us their mobile number, then it's fine. We can basically verify and pick up from there. If it's not, if you don't have anyone, and if it is somebody senior that was maybe a second line report, that you can put that on there, but don't put a colleague down as a reference, and don't put on someone that was on the same level as you. That's not going to be an option, because obviously our clients would want to know. And the questions we ask is basically stuff that your manager or someone you worked with. But often it's if there's HR in a company, so the HR manager usually does know generally what happens with employees. So they tend to oversee your work in a certain extent, or they'll get feedback from managers or directors without you even knowing. So they'll say, you know what, I really like this candidate. He's got a good work ethic. He never stays away. He's always showing initiative, always problem solving. So they might keep that at the back of their head. And then when we call them, like, yeah, no, this is what the manager did say. So if it's a reference like that, then that can be used. I would say, Adrian, you can disagree or agree with me on this point.
No, I agree. It is important to have a previous hiring manager as a reference. If the person is not there, not available, you can't get in contact with them. Try to maintain contact with those people as well. So whenever you're including references on your CV, remember to stay in contact with that person. All too often we'll find I'll be going through a CV and I'll ask the candidate, can I contact so-and-so? And the candidate or the applicant will say, well, I'm not sure if that the guy still exists, or the lady still exists at the company, or still working at the company. And my response to that was, well, if you're adding people onto your CV, if you're adding people's names and numbers onto your CV, it's your responsibility to make sure that you are in contact with that person, to make sure that they can provide a reference regardless of what company they're in. If they've moved from that company to another company, maintain the relationship. I think there's a line, I think, there's a school of thought or philosophy. Your net worth is your network. So the people that you network with, the people that you connect with, determines your net worth. So if that person can give you a good reference, then maintain the contact and keep the relationship going. So you also asked how many references to include. 2 or 3 at minimum is what we require, and the most recent. So not somebody from like 6 jobs past. I think sometimes it might be too far back.
Yeah. And also with your current employer, just to add a note there, some candidates do put their current employers down without even thinking. And sometimes, a recruiter's hectic can oversight and forget to double check with you. But personally with me, when I interview a candidate, I always double check and triple check if I can phone your current employer. As a rule of recruiters, we don't contact your current employer without your permission. And even that too, we will ask you like 100 times, can we phone? Can we phone? Are you sure? Are you sure? So putting your current employer down, sometimes you just think that you put it down and we won't call. So, just basically make sure that if you're putting your current employer down, they are aware 100% that you are looking for alternate employment. Because often, you may have a good relationship with your current manager and you tell them, you may chat in passing and say, you know what, I'm so tired of this place. I want to apply for a new job, or, I'm looking for new opportunities. Like, yeah, no, you must do that. And then from that conversation, which is a casual conversation, you think that, it's okay to put them down as a reference. But when a recruiter actually phones your current employer for a reference, it hits home, okay, my candidate is leaving. What's going to happen if they find another job? That means I have to replace. That means I have to train someone. So now they're already thinking 5 steps forward as to, you already gone, and what do they do now? And then they're like, oh no, let me give them a bad reference so they won't get the job. So there's many things, especially when you're dealing with people, you cannot read their emotions. You can't go by what they're saying. So just be careful when you're putting your current employer down. If it is someone you put down, have a serious conversation with them and say, you know what, I am applying for other jobs. Can I put you as a reference? Will you keep it confidential? If it doesn't work out, you need to know you have a good relationship with them, that they will still have your back if the opportunity doesn't work out. So that's just, my info on your current employer as a reference.
We've got another question there.
Thank you for the great info. What advice do you have for people who have lost jobs in the travel and tourism industry due to COVID-19 shutdown? And what should one do about recent? Okay, so I think I've covered recent references. Yeah, I think depending on your industry. So say that you were a travel consultant and, you dealt with a corporate company and that you did bookings for them continuously on a weekly or monthly basis, and they actually saw the value of your work. Yes, you can definitely put them as a reference, and we could call them and they could say, you know what, she sent me my quotations on time. I never had any problems. She was always available to pick up the phone, even if I phoned her in the middle of the night, or if I phoned her and I said, you know what, I'm having a problem here, there. Definitely you could do that. And not only for your industry, if you're a sales consultant and, you dealt with clients and you constantly service to those clients and you want to put them as a reference, you can. So for IT, in fact, sometimes, Adrian's clients, he's got candidates placed with the company, but working at their client. So he will put their client as a reference. That's also fine. Yeah, you can just, in those instances, you can just check with us and then we can let you know about that. With regards to job seeking, if you've got experience in travel and tourism, I know, Adrian, what does your brain power say about this? I know it's a bit hectic right now.
That's an interesting one. Obviously, this is a different time and a different season that we're in. And a lot of industries, a lot of sectors have been affected by lockdown and COVID. And it's definitely an interesting time. But what I've noticed with a lot of companies that I've worked with, a lot of our clients and even ourselves, Desh, is that we've had to adapt to the word that was common over the last few months was pivot. So how are you pivoting? How are you turning around, or how are you turning this situation around to work for you? Travel and tourism, there's still skill set. There's still transferable skills that you have there. There's still something that you can apply to another industry, maybe, or to a different sector. I was talking about what interests you and your hobbies, and what are you really good at, and what does your toolkit look like when changing careers or looking for that next opportunity. I think just reflect on what you have, reflect on the skill set that you have, the tools. How can this still be used as an advantage to another industry, another sector, a different type of employer? But it is an interesting one because it's real. What do you do if you were always in the one sector and now that sector is completely down? I'd like to tell you that I have the perfect answer, but I don't. But all we can do is just advise. But also, I haven't seen your CV, but maybe just ask yourself those key questions. What am I really good at? What are my key skills? Are they transferable to a different industry and sector?
True. It's like if you were doing sales for a travel consultancy and that's all you've done, sales, but you've got good sales and customer service skills, you could apply for internal sales roles with other companies. Granted, you don't have that product knowledge, but you've got the selling skills, you've got the customer service skills, you know how to problem solve, you know how to deal with difficult clients. So, that's an upside. You just got to look at it in a different way, I think.
Yeah. Marcel's asking, thanks for your question, Marcel. Marcel's asking, does software engineering boot camps hold weight in terms of employability in the IT industry after you complete it? 100%. it shows, so the underlying sort of theme when you add that on your CV, when I look at that, is that this person took made the extra effort to join something, to be a part of something, to participate in something, to attend a workshop, to go to a boot camp. I think it's helpful. It shows your resourcefulness. It shows that you have your eye on the ball. It shows that you're always looking out for the next opportunity. Definitely, 100% boot camps and software engineering. I know summer camps that happen, vacation work. All of that helps, as you know, if it's applicable to where you want to go and what you want to do. 100% those workshops and seminars or even webinars like this definitely help you. Cool.
Great. Is there anybody else? Anybody else want to ask anything?
Have we answered all your questions? I think, Desh, you want to go through some of the frequently asked questions that we received over the last couple of days?
Yeah, no, for sure we can do that. So, yeah, just some of those questions we've got is, which we've covered, your photograph on your CV. So we've touched base on that. Personal information, we've done that. What goes first, education or experience? Depending on your preference, but I would say education goes first because obviously you got your education and then your job. What should I list under education sector? Okay, so we've done that. Your high school, your tertiary, your further training, and any certificates that you had, and also any bodies that you're part of. So like engineering professionals, there's an engineering professional body. Accountants, there's a chartered accountant professional body. Like recruiters, there's a recruiter body that we belong to. So if there's professional memberships that you belong to, add that to your CV as well. What if I have no college degree, no 4-year college degree, or did not attend college? No problem. Look, not all our clients look for degrees. Some do, some don't. Some want experience. Some say experience wastes degrees. So it all depends on what's available, what's in the market. Don't feel disappointed or disheartened if you think that, oh, you know what, I'm never going to find a job because I don't have a degree. You know, if you look at social media, there's so many people that, you know, there's pictures of people standing on the side of the road with a Bachelor of Engineering degree or a Bachelor of Social Science, and they're battling to find a job. So education is important. We're not saying don't study. We're saying, yes, definitely study. It is a good thing to have education to fall back on, but it's a bit of both. And ultimately, it all depends on what's available, what the client recruiting for, and what their needs are. Okay, how many jobs must be listed on the experience section? I'd say, is it 10 years, Adrian? Correct me if I'm wrong. 10 years?
Yeah.
10 years. 10 years. Yeah, so it's 10 years. Should I list company names first or job titles first? Definitely. Company name, period of employment, job title, duties. I would say in that order. And then lastly, reason for leaving. Okay, what should I list in each job? I would say your responsibilities, what you've done, stats, like we've covered. That's important. How do I handle multiple jobs with the same employer? So if you worked for one company and you started as a production clerk and then you went on to a quality controller or you went on to a supervisor or a manager, start from your first job and then list them under the same banner. You don't have to create a new job blocks for each, and then just put the job title, the period, and the duties. So you can list that as well. What if a former employer no longer exists or has changed its name? Just provide the information to us. So if you are 100% transparent on your CV, then it's much easier for us to market you. So just put it on your CV. What are transferable skills and their significance? So like we've discussed, transferable skills like your customer service skills, your selling skills, those skills are transferable. How do I handle employment gaps? Okay, so unfortunately, everybody goes through a period of unemployment. So if there are gaps in your CV, whether it be 3 months, 6 months, or a year, just think of something you did. Even if you went and worked with a friend for a week, or you assisted in a family business, or you tried your hand at something. So say, you know, you did something. Just think of something that you did. If you didn't do anything, put that gap on and say, job hunting, if you attended interviews, so state in that time, attended 6 interviews at 6 corporate companies or attended 5 interviews, unfortunately was not successful due to the requirements, due to a qualification. So state that on there. So at least when we are recruiting, we can see that, you tried to do something. Even if you went and assisted with your mom, or you assisted with your dad, or, if you were job hunting and you've got younger siblings and you assisted in taking care of them, picking them up from school, put that on your CV. It basically shows responsibility. It shows that, you didn't sit in front of the couch eating chips, watching Netflix for 6 months while job hunting. So put that on as well. How long should a CV be? We've covered that. How should I attach my CV? We've covered that. And what are some of the most common mistakes? Grammar, structure, unexplained gaps. We've covered that. And then mistakes people make during an interview. So the number one mistake here that we would say people make is lack of research of a company. Often companies are now asking when you go in, so what do you know about my company? What can you tell me about my company? So that's your opportunity to say, well, I've done research and I see that your company's been around for so long. You specialize in this, you specialize in that. You've recently implemented systems. If their BE certificate is on file, you can look at that and say, okay, well, that means that you're a good organization if your rating is from level 5 and up. So there's lots of little things that you can pick up to say that the client can see you made the effort. Because as much as they need to be sure about you, you need to be sure about them. And remember, an interview is not for us to push you and say, go to company A, get your interview, secure your job, and start. It's a two-way street. The employer needs to be happy with you. You need to be happy with the job. So to me, I think it works both ways.
100%. Cool. I think that's about all the time we have now for. But thank you to the participants. Thank you to everyone that joined. Thank you for the questions. That's very informative and helpful to everybody else, I'm sure. We'll be putting this link for, I think it goes on YouTube and our website. So for those that have missed the beginning of the webinar, then you can always catch up, and we'll also have some notes that we can add. And if there's anything else that we can help with, Desh has included her email address. I'll have my email address there. My name is not Cindy Norcott, by the way. That's my name is Adrian. So I'm just using the I don't know what you call it. Anyway, but thank you very much for your time.
Yes, and also remember, we're not experts in hosting webinars. This is actually our first webinar that we are doing. So we hope that, it was inspiring and motivating and informative to you guys. Yeah. And we want to thank you for taking the time to actually dial in and listen to us.
Cool. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good day and happy job hunting.
Yes, definitely.